Hey guys, JSmooth TV here, and I'm back with another video. I think it's about time to finally address something that's been a pretty controversial topic since June 16th, 2015. A video like this is well overdue, and I think this needs to be seen from a different point of view. One that doesn't involve personal feelings or beliefs. If you couldn't tell by now, I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors 2015 championship. For quite some time, I keep seeing the same arguments on Twitter about why this title shouldn't count and how it was a cakewalk. So today, we're going to talk about why they fully deserve that banner. First, we need to talk about their regular season. For some reason, people tend to forget that the Warriors won a then franchise record 67 games in 2015. That's right, they almost had a 70-win season before their actual 70-win season. This was 11 wins more than the second place Rockets, who finished with 56 wins. The Warriors were practically undefeated at home, with a 39-2 record at Oracle Arena. They also went on a 16-game winning streak from mid-November to mid-December. Golden State was number 1 in defensive ranking and broke league records for games with 30 or more assists. The Splash Bros officially became an all-star duo when Klay made the team this season, solidifying his spot with a 37-point quarter in late January. Oh yeah, and they also kinda sorta had that Stephen Curry guy who won his first MVP that season too. Basically, to put it in layman's terms, the Warriors were the best team in basketball. And usually, the best team in basketball is expected to win the title, right? Now let me ask you this real quick. Did the 07 Spurs not earn and deserve their title when they played a Cavs team that included a young LeBron James and a roster made up of a bunch of guys you see at your local YMCA? Or what about the 01 Lakers, who beat the Sixers in 5, whose only real threat was Allen Iverson, that season's MVP? Yeah, I know they had a 34-year-old Dikembe Mutombo, but I'm pretty sure Shaq had no problem handling him, since he averaged 33 and 16 on him in the finals. Oh, and didn't AI have a handful of injuries going into those finals too? My point here is that you can't pick and choose who you want to play. You can only try to beat who's in front of you. Of course, I'm not trying to say for certain that Kyrie or Kevin Love wouldn't have changed the outcome of 2015, because look at what happened in the 2016 finals. But I just don't understand why the Warriors are the focus of this type of discussion. Maybe it's because of the recency, since 2015 isn't that long ago. But another thing that people always neglect to mention is that every team the Warriors faced in the playoffs, the best player on the other team played the entire series. Matter of fact, let's take a look at who and what the Warriors faced to claim the 2015 title. To start the playoffs in their title run, the Warriors faced the Anthony Davis-led New Orleans Pelicans. Fun fact, Jrue Holiday was actually on the team and coming off the bench, but he didn't play that much. Coach Monty Williams probably didn't know he was a defensive stud. Anyway, to no surprise, the Warriors won the first 2 games of the series and then hit the road to NOLA for Game 3. The Pelicans knew they couldn't allow themselves to fall into a 0-3 hole, knowing that spells inevitable doom for playoff teams. They came out firing on all cylinders and surprisingly, by the end of the first half, had the Warriors in a bit of a hole. And then by the end of the third quarter, they were down by 20 points. This was the Warriors' first test of the postseason. Golden State then flipped the switch to their nuclear offense and outscored the Pelicans 39-19 in the fourth quarter, with the OT forcing shot being the iconic Steph Curry 3 while being completely shoved into the first row. In overtime, Steph continued to show why he was the favorite to win MVP and finished the game with 40 points. The Warriors showed their resilience by not quitting and just letting the Pels take this one. They then came out of the next game with a much better start, completing the sweep. Second round, second test, am I right? Here, the Warriors had to go up against the gritty Memphis Grizzlies. Both Mike Conley and Marc Gasol played in the series. Gasol was actually one of the best centers in the league at the time, averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists at his position. But anyway, the Grizzlies were looking to come out and set the tone of the series from the start. They wanted to play a physical game with a huge focus on defense. The Warriors won Game 1, but in a complete shocker, the Grizzlies handed them their first home loss in 6 months in Game 2. This is the game that Tony Allen reminded the world why he was
First team all defense. First team all defense. What? First team all defense.
Yeah, what he said. But how did the Warriors respond to this loss? By losing Game 3 too. Yep, the Warriors were in a 2-1 hole going into Game 4. One of the main reasons why they found themselves in this position was the absolutely overwhelming defense Memphis was playing. I mean, just look at this. Look at how tight they played Curry and even Clay. For the people who think Curry didn't face any pressure defensively from the perimeter, just check the tapes. And the Grizzlies crowd at the Grindhouse loved the passion on defense. But finally, like how most great teams do, the Warriors figured it out by winning games 4, 5, and 6 decisively and moved on to their first Western Conference Finals in decades. Rockets Warriors. This was a pretty interesting series, even though it didn't last very long. But let's clear up something real quick. I see people use the argument that Steph Curry didn't have to play against Patrick Beverley, who's known to be a very tough defensive point guard. So this is another reason why it was quote-unquote easy for the Warriors. The thing is, Patrick Beverley got injured well before the playoffs even started. On March 23, 2015, he severely injured his left wrist, tearing a ligament. He was officially ruled out for the rest of the season on March 30th. Yup, 3 weeks before the playoffs even began on April 18th. 6 weeks before the conference finals started on May 19th. So how did the Rockets possibly get so far? How did they possibly win 2 playoff series and have the chance to make it to the finals? Well, to make it simple, the short answer is James Harden. The long answer is James Harden, the Rockets bench, and the Clippers choking in Game 6. But that's a video for the future. But actually, that's what made the conference finals interesting from a dramatic standpoint. A good amount of people, even including some of the voters, felt that James Harden deserved to win the MVP over Curry that season. People gave the argument that he averaged more points at 27.4 points per game compared to Steph's 23.8. But Curry still ended up winning the MVP, making James the runner-up. So people were excited to see the 2 MVPs go at it, and it was pretty fun to watch. James Harden was simply giving the Warriors buckets. Steph Curry was giving the Rockets buckets. The 2 superstars continued to try and one-up each other throughout the entire Western Conference Finals. The first 2 games were extremely tight, going down to the final seconds, with huge stops at the end securing the wins. It was so close that the Warriors just barely escaped Game 2 with the win, with James having the ability to flat out win the game simply with a couple free throws. But he got caught in the double team, turned the ball over, and the Warriors took a 2-0 lead to Houston. In Game 3, Steph Curry was completely unconscious, dropping 40 on the Rockets, showing exactly why he was named MVP. Even though the series was pretty much over from a historical standpoint, being in an 0-3 hole, James Harden came right back with 45 of his own, forcing a Game 5 back at Oracle. And this is where a meltdown happened. James Harden set the NBA playoff record for turnovers with 13. He shot an abysmal 2 for 11 with 14 points. The Warriors' defense was swarming and pressuring him. Obviously, attacking Harden was in their game plan. This type of performance from a superstar in an elimination game has rarely been seen before. The Warriors took control of the Rockets' best player, the game, and the Western Conference Championship trophy. Golden State ended the series in 5 and clinched their first finals appearance in 4 decades. Their final and greatest test was coming up next. Okay, here we go. What you've all been waiting for. The 2015 NBA Finals. The beginning of the Cavs-Warriors rivalry. The 4-time MVP versus the newest MVP. The best player in the world versus the best team in the league. We're going to take a look at the finals game by game. It's only right. Game 1 was the beginning of it all, and it started off exactly how any other championship game would. A lot of nerves, a lot of excitement, and a whole lot of intensity. For pretty much everyone but LeBron, this was their first ever NBA Finals game. The Cavs started off strong both defensively and offensively. Kyrie got buckets, and of course LeBron made his presence known too. But J.R. Smith hit a couple of early threes, which in the end had the Warriors down 29-15 on their home court. But the Warriors battled back from their deficit. Back-to-back threes from Steph Curry helped Golden State tie and take the lead in the second quarter. But the back-and-forth trend continued, with LeBron and J.R. Smith buckets in the last 35 seconds, helping the Cavs take a 3-point lead into the half. The second half was much of the same, but the greatness of LeBron James emerged some more. He was making plays for the Cavs, keeping them in the game with a very realistic chance of taking a 1-0 series lead. But the 67-win Warriors were not going to let this one slip away. With the game tied at 96 with 58 seconds left, Steph Curry hit a mid-range pull-up jumper, giving the Warriors the late lead. But the best player in the world had a bit of a response, passing the ball off to their center Mozgov for the tying free throws. Reigning MVP Curry was staring down the chance to make the game-winning bucket with a clear-as-day path to the basket, when Kyrie made the important hustle play of blocking his shot. LeBron had one last chance. 5 seconds left. Left wing jumper, miss. Jumper putback, miss. Game 1, overtime. Golden State took decisive control of the extra period, only allowing the Cavs 2 points, which came in complete garbage time. Game 1 to the Warriors. But something very important happened in that extra period too. Kyrie and Klay Thompson banged knees, putting Kyrie in excruciating pain. He ended up fracturing his kneecap, ending his postseason. LeBron now had to take his game to a completely different level that we've never seen before. Game 2 was actually pretty similar to Game 1, so we're just going to jump right into the fourth quarter. LeBron was in the middle of being completely dominant, just all the way unstoppable. What he was doing on the court quickly reminded the world why he's the 4-time MVP and the best player on the planet. He was scoring from all over the place and making big plays for his teammates. The Cavs ended up having the Warriors down by 11 in the fourth quarter on their own home court. This is also the game where the famous Australian sensation Matthew Dellavedova emerged onto the national stage. He stepped in place of Kyrie and was in charge of guarding Curry. He clearly made an impact on the MVP. Steph had a complete nightmare of a game, shooting 5 for 23 for just 19 points and 6 turnovers. Most noticeably, down by 1 with 10 seconds left in the overtime, he completely airballed a rather open shot that would have gave the Warriors the late lead. LeBron's masterpiece of a game was completed. The man put up an absolutely ridiculous triple-double of 39 points, 16 rebounds, and 11 assists. That stat line was not a fluke, since he continued to show his dominance throughout the finals. The first 2 games of the NBA Finals went into overtime for the first time in NBA history. So Game 3 should have been the same, right? Nah. The Cavs took control of the game in the mid-third quarter, completely blowing the game open. At one point, they were up by 19 points. LeBron was doing best player in the world things, hitting difficult shots and catching lobs. The Warriors tried to make another comeback like the one versus the Pelicans, pushing the game into the final seconds, but the effort was too little, too late. Game 3 to Cleveland. LeBron dropped another insane stat line of 40, 12, and 8. The Cavs were officially up 2-1. No Kyrie, no Kevin Love. They beat the best team in the league twice, back-to-back, in the finals. Clearly, if you have LeBron James on your team, you have a good shot of winning. LeBron was clearly way too much for the Warriors to handle going into Game 4. They had to make a significant change before finding themselves down 3-1. So, Steve Kerr made the move. He did something that hasn't been done during the entire Warriors season. He started Andre Iguodala, and it definitely paid off. Let's just make something clear real quick. You cannot stop LeBron James. You can only hope to bother him. Well, I guess Iguodala bothered him just enough, since the Warriors were able to tie the finals at 2 games apiece. LeBron put up a quote-unquote disappointing 20 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. Steph Curry also had himself a bounce-back game after hearing critics say Dellavedova was shutting him down. 22-6 for the reigning MVP was his stat line, and the scene swung back to the Bay. Game 5 was the game of the superstars. A straight up head-to-head between Bron and Steph, the two flat-out best players on the court. It seemed that game was basically who can score more than the other. Of course, LeBron poured in yet another 40-point triple-double, but the reigning MVP cashed in 37 points of his own. This performance led the Warriors to the win, the series lead, and the chance to win their first title in 40 years. And in Game 6, they did it. But not without LeBron having one final thing to say about that. This man straight up gave it all he had. He went out with yet another near triple-double of 32 points, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists. Like, imagine the history he would have made if he grabbed just a couple more boards. I'm not gonna lie, his 2015 Finals performance made me appreciate this man a lot more than I ever thought of. The man put up a historic series that we've never seen before from a single player. He finished the series with averages of 35.8 points, 13.3 rebounds, and just under 9 assists. He was so great that people who voted for the Finals MVP award thought he deserved it, even after losing. It still ended up going to Iguodala, but man, what a competitor. So, in a quick recap, the Warriors completed a historical single-game comeback against the Pelicans, overcame the feisty Grizzlies defense, grounded James Harden and the Rockets, and overcame a historical final series from LeBron James. And why is this not respectable again? Because in the eyes of any other NBA player, going through this definitely makes the jewelry that much sweeter. That's all, guys. Thanks so much for sticking through and watching this pretty long video. Please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Let me know if I'm right or wrong about anything. I'm not scared of constructive criticism. Alright guys, catch you in my next video.